Good evening, you're watching Eswatini TV News Bulletin at 8, read to you by Notile Sitole. First, let's have a look at tonight's headlines.
The Ministry of Home Affairs has announced the adjustment of border post operating hours between Eswatini and South Africa. The Manzini Regional Administrator says working together with the police will ensure that everyone adheres to the COVID-19 regulations during the crossover. Meanwhile, the Lubombo Regional Administrator has commended the region's COVID-19 task team for their dedication in raising awareness about the pandemic.
And now the news in detail. Ingaja has returned with big news of Eswatini. This follows their commissioning by His Majesty King Eswatini III on Wednesday afternoon at Engabezweni Royal Residence, led by their Royal Highnesses the Princes. Upon arrival at Eswatini Royal Residence, the regiment was inspected by His Majesty and then delivered to Eswatini before their Majesties. Moving on with the news, there has been some changes in the border operating hours between Eswatini and the Republic of South Africa. As for now, border posts will open at 6 a.m. until 8 p.m. This is contained in a press statement issued by the Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Home Affairs.
This follows the announcement by the President of South Africa, Cyril Ramaphosa, on the 28th of December regarding measures to curb the spread of the second wave of the coronavirus being currently experienced. The President imposed a compulsory curfew that prohibits movement between 9 and 6 a.m. with effect from 26 December. Travelers are advised to appropriately plan their trips to avoid non-compliance with the mandatory curfew, which may result in criminal prosecution and sentencing. Movement of truck drivers transporting goods and emergency services will not be affected by the changes. Additionally, the ministry wishes to urge the public to follow public health advice and take all relevant precautions when carrying out necessary cross-border journeys, such as authentic negative COVID-19 test results, practice physical distancing, good hand washing hygiene. Reporting, I'm Nulele Makakula in Babane.
Manzini Regional Administrator Chief Gija and the region, in collaboration with Royal Eswatini Police Service and the National Disaster Management Agency, will ensure that there is no moving up and down in the city and surrounding areas during the end-of-year period to minimize the spread of COVID-19. Chief Gija said this during an operation campaign that has been launched by the region to combat the spread of the virus.
Since the second phase of the coronavirus is seemingly hitting hard in the country and worldwide, and that has been realized by the increase in the number of COVID-19 cases and the escalating number of deaths in the country due to the pandemic, Manzini Regional Office, in collaboration with the Royal Eswatini Police Service, National Disaster Management Agency and the Ministry of Health, have decided to organize an awareness campaign which seeks to warn and advise the members of the public to refrain from roaming around the streets of Manzini during the crossover period. Manzini Regional Administrator Chief Gija says anyone who will be found violating the COVID-19 regulations in Manzini and surrounding areas will face the long arm of the law.
Kuncephetisa nekuyalana sekwendlulile. Nyalo nje nasikhanza wendi intfo lengekho la kulomgomo lobekiwe. Asisakuyekelisi ukuthi kuyekela ungakwendi lokho. Siyakubopha. Uthi lokwenakela ukuthi asikaye esontweni sonke ama-overnight prayers. Sisekhaya, usemotini yakho, usekamelweni lakho, vula faselo plus eJerusalem, uthandaze uNkulunkulu kanye nawe. Sithi awuphepha kule sifo. Ngithi nyalo bekunene kude nangemaphathi ama-get togethers. Sakhanza i-get together asaniyekelisi bekunene. Ngicela kusho lokwenaka asaniyekelisi, siyanibopha. Sisikanyala kulo mnyaka bekunene asekume kuchumisa amacricket sikanye kanye asekume kubitana stonta lidzile sikanye kanye.
Chief Gija further advised members of the public to avoid organizing get-togethers with the aim of celebrating the new year, and also appealed to church leaders and brethren not to hold overnight prayers, but instead they must pray in their houses with their families instead of attending all-night prayers, because by doing so, the number of COVID-19 cases will continue to increase countrywide. For Eswatini TV News, Zoto Adlameni with Mbonga Dube, Manzini.
The Lubombo Regional Administrator Themba Msibi has commended the Lubombo Region COVID-19 task teams for working hard in ensuring that people know about the pandemic. Msibi revealed this during a meeting with the task teams.
As the numbers of confirmed COVID-19 continues to surge in the country, quarantine or isolation places are almost out of space. This was revealed during a meeting of the Lubombo COVID-19 task teams with the Lubombo Regional Administrator. Sabelo Masubu, who spoke on behalf of the health task team, said people are now quarantined in their homesteads.
Nyalo inkinga laseyikhona nalama health workers. Asakulasta hotel nje kugcwele ama health workers kude indzawo. Nyalo nje le health worker uba positive so hlala ekhaya bakubonele khona because la sanikwa nguhulumende khona ukuthi sitabona kwakhona as ama health workers sekugcwele kude indzawo. Ya referral ukugcwele kude indzawo. Emavuso ukugcwele kude indzawo.
Lubombo Region Administrator Themba Msibi commended the COVID-19 task teams. He said they are doing a tremendous job and should continue enforcing the COVID-19 regulations.
Kepha-ke kudele okunye sigcizelela ukuthi asilalele betempilo sihambe ngale migomo lebekiwe leshiwo ngilama regulations khona-ke sitawuphepha ngisho njalo singalilahli ithemba sitawuphepha sikwende nje kube ngumkhuba wethu vele ukuthi awuhlali nje uve umuntu akhwehlela eceleni kwakho ngoba nalo khwehlela sekuyevakala ukuthi ikhona lokungalungile kepha bese uyabinzisa nje uyaqinisela mkhweshele.
Msibi emphasized that the task teams should always keep themselves safe, follow all the health precautions so that they do not get infected by the virus. Reporting for Eswatini TV News is Tembele Makuchwa with Themba Shabangu Stegi.
Chairperson of the Eswatini Council of Churches, Archdeacon Begindlela Magongo, has warned church leaders and brethren not to organize all-night prayers with the aim of celebrating the new year to avoid the spread of COVID-19. Magongo said this during an interview with Eswatini TV in Eswatini.
The escalating number of COVID-19 cases and the number of deaths due to the virus is very disturbing. Therefore, Eswatini Council of Churches has advised church leaders to stop organizing all-night prayers with the aim of celebrating the new year to avoid the spread of the virus amongst church members. Chairperson of Eswatini Council of Churches, Archdeacon Begindlela Magongo, says if church leaders and church members will be seen holding all-night prayers and crossover services, that church might lose its membership.
Nakuyakwendeka abe khona loya ubese uyawephula lama regulations umthetho vele utawuthatha indzawo yawo. Thina njengetinhlangano ikakhulukazi letintsathu temasonto savele sakubeka kwabasebaleni kwekuthi nangabe loyo lowephulile ukaligi vele neligi yawusukuma ukuthi imeke sure ukuthi utax waliqala lo muntu liyamlahla ngalo kweba regulations tawuphinza utax waliqala nalanga ekhathi ke manje kulenhlangano ngoba phela nakhona so ifake esimende esikabi lenhlangano kuliqala ukuthi abantu batawubamba ema all night long prayers.
Magongo further warned church leaders to avoid holding funeral services for more than 2 hours because such can lead to the spread of the COVID-19 and result to the violation of COVID-19 regulations. Archdeacon Magongo further urged community leaders to be on the lookout to churches in communities who will be seen holding illegal overnight prayers so that those church leaders face discipline from the council. For Eswatini TV News, Zodwa Tlameni with Mbonga Dube, Ezulwini.
The Eswatini Animal Welfare urges members of the public to consider their animals tonight when they display their fireworks to mark the crossover. Canal manager Nkosingphile Dlamini says the loud noise severely traumatizes them to a point where they stray and never find their way home.
Human beings may take the display of fireworks as an entertainment, but to animals, in particular dogs, it's torture because the sound of the firework is 1,000 times louder than that of human beings. Hence, they seek a safe space to run away from the noise. Colonel Manager at the Eswatini Animal Welfare, Nkosingphile Dlamini, says 5 minutes of firework noise is more than enough damage to a dog. Therefore, it's important to take the necessary measures before the display.
We would love to sensitize the public as they light up their fireworks, not to do it for a long time. They should consider the welfare of the dogs. As dogs, they don't like loud noise. Once they hear the loud noise, they start to run all over and they lose the track and they get lost from home and they got accidents on the roads. If it happens that you decide to light fireworks, you should make sure your dogs are in a safe place and also consider the neighbors' animals.
She emphasizes on the importance of animal welfare because every animal deserves a good life. Reporting, I'm Lungilele Makakula with Muzimkonda in Babane.
Gospel artist Mduduzi Makaukau Simelane says COVID-19 regulations will be adhered to during his digital crossover event, which will be live tonight on social media platforms. Simelane says artists will take turns with their performances, also noting the number of band members.
Gospel artist Makaukau's annual crossover event is attended by thousands and thousands of Eswatini. This year, it will be held virtually to minimize the spread of the coronavirus. As the amended COVID-19 regulations clearly state, crossover events and gatherings of people of more than 20 are prohibited. We wanted clarity from the artist on the precautionary measures taken to ensure that the regulations are adhered to. He has given his assurance that the COVID-19 regulations will be followed throughout the broadcast.
Indzaba lenkulu ngama regulations elive lakhona ngakayiphendvuli.
We did follow the regulations when planning this event because COVID is real and artists' health is important. We have made sure that there's less congestion on the stage, so we have limited band and live transmission members. We also made means to pre-record the show for artists such as Sipho Makhabane and others.
He says the event will go live from 10 p.m. to 2 a.m. Reporting, I'm Lungilele Makakula in Babane.
Many people in Babane have described the year 2020 as one of the worst years of their lives. They said this in an interview with Eswatini TV journalists.
The year 2020 started like any other normal year, but as the weeks and months progressed, it became evident that this was going to be a tough year for Eswatini people and countries world over due to the outbreak of coronavirus. Different people in Babane have attested to the fact that this has been a very difficult year.
The 2020 akusiyena umnyaka longathi bewukahle. Dinenge letimvu lesibhekene nathi endleleni sisahamba.
2020 bekamubi, akabi umnyaka lomuhle nalomnanzi. Ube mubi kakhulu ngaletifo lo ubese uba nato. Bewungafani neminyaka lesike sendlula kuomveni. Tibe taba khona kona tinkinga. Kepha hayi leti njengaleti tifo sikubonile tihlasela kepha hayi leti tholakala ngisho uhlete ekhaya.
Hayi 2020 akasiphathi kahle ngalokho kubena the corona kodwa hayi siyathemba ukuthi kutoba right.
Kunele kufika COVID emaplans ethu aphazamisekile njengomlo omncane nje lothanza kwenda emabhizinisi anyana timvo tefu akuqhabi timvo kahle.
Besidla eMandi singathi nokusisidlani savala lama etimakethe 3 months sileti emakhaya kude shukela kude okusinkwangude ayipheka uyidle ngani kwakude.
Different people expressed hope that perhaps the year 2021 will not be as difficult and as painful as 2020. For Eswatini TV News, Hlengiwe Ndlovu with Muzimkonda in Babane.
The Eswatini Liquor Association urges its members to fully comply with all COVID-19 protocols and to conduct business in compliance with all the country's laws. This was said by the association's Secretary General Tamihle Chwago during an interview with Eswatini TV News.
The Deputy Prime Minister Themba Masuku, when officially introducing the Operation Bopa campaign on Wednesday, made it clear that governments will not hesitate to close down sectors of the economy and businesses that fail to observe laid down COVID-19 protocols. The Operation Bopa campaign targets everyone who fails to observe laid down COVID-19 regulations. It is against the backdrop of the launch of Operation Bopa that Secretary of the Eswatini Liquor Association, Tamihle Chwago, has urged liquor traders to observe laid down protocols.
Sicela ukuthi lonke eliswati libone ukuthi ninsayela lekufanele liyende lilodwana. So kude lokufanele athi indzaba yalomunye indzaba yethu so kodwa ke kithi thina lesithengisa tshwala sinesicelo lesendlulele kulamaswati lo ukuthi asithi sikuthengisa lo tshwala sibe abantu laba abathengisa ngalokho lesivumelene ngako nahulumende. Kunemithetho wakaliquor association, kunemithetho wa COVID, kunemithetho kwewebuntu lesibadiko nathi ukuthi lokungiko nalokungasiko kuyini. So singacela nje ukuthi asibambisane sonke singemaswati sibukele le live sibukele abantu babethu ukuthi sonke siphumelele nekuthi naye uhulumende usibambisile savula nanyalo sisatobuka ukuthi simo sihamba njani sicanga siphinde sihlale phasi etafuleni nakunetinkinga nahulumende sibonge lo ukuthi kube nekubambisana kuletinkinga leti lesifuthi.
In July, the government of Eswatini effected a ban on alcohol sales in the kingdom following a rise of COVID-19 cases around that time. For Eswatini TV News, Hlengiwe Ndlovu with Muzim Konda in Babane.
Good evening once again. You're still watching Eswatini TV News. For now, let's have a look at our sports news. Pigs Pick Black Swallows assistant coach Bongani Makhanya says the mandate they have been given by the club's directors is to try and establish the team and avoid relegation at all costs. Makhanya says using this festive season's training session is the starting point to build the team. Makhanya was speaking during the club's training session in Babane at the Prince of Wales.
Pigs Pick Black Swallow is one of the club working tirelessly in the Premier League to build their team. Assistant coach Bongani Makhanya says that the mandate from the club directors is to try to build the team and avoid relegation.
As a team, let's develop. We're trying to put.
Makhanya says once that is established, they will then begin to fight for trophies come next season.
To avoid relegation. To establish the team next season.
Mbuso Ladla, one of the senior players at the club, says training during festive season will assist them in building the club for the better of the season.
nyalo lokho sesibeke efini sithi hayi asibambe nyalo siqhubeke nsedulo singabuselo sibamba ikepthini because vele siyadikolo that.
Pigs Pick Black Swallows has only played a game in the new season of 2020-2021 when they defeated Monterey Pirates by a goal to naught. Their first game was suspended. For Eswatini TV Sports, Fabrice Msondera, Mbabane.
And now in our international sports news, American basketball coach Becky Hammon has become the first female coach to lead a team in the NBA tournament. This follows after coach Greg Popovich was ejected again by the Los Angeles Lakers.
Becky Hammon became the first woman to lead a team after San Antonio Spurs Greg Popovich ejected on the NBA in the United States of America. Popovich put assistant coach Hammon in charge after he was removed in the second quarter of Spurs' 121-107 defeat by Lakers in Texas. In England, Liverpool manager Jurgen Klopp said his side position in the table is the last thing he's thinking about after they drew at Newcastle United to finish 2020 3 points clear at the top of the Premier League. The Reds end the year where they started it, but a second consecutive draw against a team in the bottom half means they are now only 3 points clear to Manchester United, who have a game in hand. In Spain, Atletico Madrid will end 2020 on top of La Liga after beating Getafe at the Wanda Metropolitano. The Swallows headed a first-half winner to hand Atletico manager Diego Simeone a victory in his 500th game in charge of Atletico Madrid. For Eswatini TV Sports, Fabrice Msondera, picture source from VOA, France 24 and DW.
That's all for now. Before we head out, let's have a relook at our top stories.
The Ministry of Home Affairs has announced the adjustment of border post operating hours between Eswatini and South Africa. The Manzini Regional Administrator says working together with the police will ensure that everyone adheres to the COVID-19 regulations during the crossover. Meanwhile, the Lubombo Regional Administrator has commended the region's COVID-19 task team for their dedication in raising awareness about the pandemic.
Well, with that, we come up to the end of our bulletin for the evening. Up next is the weather update from myself and the team here at Eswatini TV. Thank you for watching. Good night.
Everywhere you go, MTN.